Hello, hello. We are live and we are back. My name is 𝗙𝗶𝗱, of course, because it will say somewhere around here and also on here too. Today is day 66 of 365 days of lives or videos. And today I wanted to talk about a topic. I've just simply named it a concept to navigating tough times. So here's why I'm talking about this topic today. I have seen lots of posts from people in various places online where they're talking about something, and somewhere within their post they say the year so far has been tough. One person said life be life in, an American person, obviously, and a few people have kind of touched on some of the difficulties they've been navigating over the last few months. And as per all of these things, you're never alone in this. That coupled with a business, either running a business or working in someone's business, can have a huge impact. So whilst a lot of what I share seems just relevant to the self-employed business community, this actually, if you're a carer of people, you take care of people within your organization, maybe like an HR or occupational therapist or anyone else like that, or you are a concerned, kind colleague that just looks out for the people around you, whether you work remotely or whether you work in situ in an office, or whether you do a hybrid and do both. I think this topic is really important because sometimes the only way people navigate through tough times is when they have somebody else looking out for them. So I wanted to talk about a concept to navigate tough times today, because this is something that I've often spoken about, or at least spoken to with clients. You know, they work with me because they either want to be more visible themselves, or they want to overcome a little visibility hurdle. It could be through how they show up on video. It could be how they present their work or their products or services for themselves or their employer. Or it even could be around almost like having the confidence to do things. And don't get me wrong, these people are very capable, very confident people. Sometimes we need a bit of a push because we feel a bit challenged outside of our job role or outside of the thing that we're used to doing. And other people use these as a kind of a personal growth springboard, if you like, recognizing that there's something that they want to do more of. So they do it, or they attempt to do it and find a way to do it too. So I remember specifically, you know, I'm not immune to this. I go through tough times as well. You know, I run a business, I have a life, you know, have a lovely man to share it with, you know, and I navigate all of these things too. And kind of back in my history, I've had some particular biggies to navigate. So a lot of people will talk about appreciation and gratitude, to which I have too. And something that I realized from something that happened in my own life about, let me think now, yeah, be 14 years ago, 2010, coincidentally, the same time that I started my business, if you believe in coincidences. At the same time, and you might not know this about me, and I feel like I should say trigger warning because this will talk specifically about baby loss. But specifically in 2010, when I decided I'm going to go out on my own, start a business, I also made the decision, or we also, with my ex-partner at the time, decided to start a family. And 14 years down the line, the business is still going and the family never happened. And the circumstances of that were pretty devastating, definitely for me. And it's interesting that when I talk about it now, the time that I kind of feel like I don't want to talk about it is if somebody's listening who is pregnant or kind of going through a pregnancy journey or challenge. I don't want it to be triggering for them. But many people over the years have commented on how okay I seem given it. And, you know, after a few years, I remember saying, well, I think it's just the passage of time. You know, people say time's a healer. But when I look back on what helped me to navigate that very tough time in my life, I realized that this concept was at play too. So what is this concept I'm talking about? So I keep going like that on my chair and leaning back. I'm sitting on the edge of my chair. I should sit properly, shouldn't I? Stop wiggling around. So one of the things that I talk about quite often is duality. And I know this is a funny kind of hand signal that I talk about when I speak about duality, because I kind of go like this. But duality is our ability to hold almost what feels like the good with the bad, the rough with the smooth, the highs with the lows, and all of that kind of thing. It's our ability to be able to hold them at the same time. Now, there's a lot of work that I would never do justice in trying to share in a few minutes in a video. So at that time when I was grieving, I remember quite early on, I'd watched a video about something, but quite early on, I'm talking days after losing twins. That's specifically what I was talking about back in 2010. And I remember, on the one hand, being so filled with grief, it feeling so raw, feeling like I didn't want to get out of bed in the mornings, feeling like I didn't want to go anywhere, I didn't want to shower, I didn't want to do anything, didn't want to see anybody, didn't want to speak to anybody. And yet throughout those 24 hours, as I began to just go day by day, sometimes hour by hour, I realized there were little pockets of the day where I was okay. I saw something that actually made me laugh. I saw something that made me smile, or I saw something that lifted my spirits. Now, this is very different to burying our head in the sand or being in denial of something. This is very different. This was just recognizing where I was and where I was sitting moment by moment, minute by minute, and sometimes hour by hour, you know? So it was a recognition, and almost like it felt, when I look back on it, like I was observing myself, you know, sometimes in the grief. Sometimes I was curious about how I woke up feeling okay in the morning and how I descended into the grief. And other times I would be smiling and laughing at something, having been in floods of tears a few minutes before. So when I look back at that, what I was doing was kind of skipping between one to another, kind of okay 1 minute, not so great the next minute. What I realized that navigated me through that in the long term and let me know that I was going to be okay and the people around me were going to be okay was that I had so many of these like raw moments and great times. I began to recognize them and realized that I would have raw times and horrible times and grief-filled times. And I would also have heightened times, times of laughter, things that made me smile, you know, watching the birds arguing over blackberries in the garden that I'd thrown out for them to eat, and just different things that kind of brought delight. What I realized, for most people that navigate any tough times, and this is not a, if you don't do this, you're rubbish. This is a, you know, if you're going through a tough time, for whatever the reasons, and they can be, you know, really horrendous. There's some awful stuff that happened just here in the UK a couple of days ago. You know, if you're going through a tough time, let it be okay to know that you will have a range of emotions, even in the depths of everything. And let it be okay to walk with both, carry both, the rough, the smooth, the good, the bad, the tough, the easy, the happy, the sad. This duality and the practice of being able to walk in duality will really serve you. So I was speaking to a client a couple of years ago, actually, on a career thing. They were in a job, doing very well at the job, had some changes that came in from the management level, and very quickly the whole team divided. You know, some of them were like, yeah, this person's great and they're amazing. And it's literally like the other half were like, no, this person isn't good for the ethos. And this division kind of erupted between the team. And seemingly the management weren't really aware until this person said, I've had enough, I need to say something. And they had a private word with the person, didn't feel it could change. and ultimately decided to leave. But before that happened, I felt like, even though it was around visibility and around professional career kind of development and, putting yourself out there and raising your profile or raising your professional profile, the main job was almost helping the person with coping mechanisms, coping strategies, what to do when they felt anxious, nervous, angry, frustrated. But also, this involved being able to carry both those dualities. I have had clients, by the way, that have been in sort of similar situations where something's felt tough at work. They wanted to throw the towel in, but being able to walk with the duality of how they're feeling and other elements of their life actually meant that they stayed and they were able to perform a great job, and it didn't cause them a lot of stress kind of on them. So just a reflective one for today, because I know that some people are really going through these tough times. Have a look at what is happening. I would say notice, that's the first thing, notice the dualities, notice the range of emotions, notice what feels good to you and what doesn't feel great to you. And initially, especially when you're in the thick of it, like get yourself a notebook or a scrap of paper and write it down somewhere. Make a note on your phone. Write down the things that are really helpful to you and the things that aren't so much. And once you start to notice that, you'll start to be able to walk with both of them. That is the very first step. If you or someone you know is in this position and feeling very stuck at the moment, I don't usually offer kind of one-off coaching sessions, but if somebody is going through something, this is something that not only I help or have helped people navigate throughout their own lives and their professional lives and behind the scenes, because I am also trained as a life coach too. This is something that has helped them to kind of build back their resilience, build back the chinks in their armor that they might have traveled through. But if this is you, reach out and we can have discussion on just a couple of sessions to help you navigate that through. Hopefully helpful. I'm sending you so many kind of good vibes because I know it's a tough thing to navigate. And as humans, we have an awful habit of comparing. Well, that can't be that bad. Look, this has happened. Gosh, if that happened to me, that would absolutely do this, or this is far worse, or that's nothing. So sending you lots of love and hoping that your day gets easier for you. Bye for now.